Welcome, Ultras and Switchy Sisters alike, to episode 22 of the weekly episodic gaming adjacent livestream podcast show. This is Switch 2 Ultra. Back on Mondays until the end of time, but this is a very special Monday, apparently. Not for any additional video game information or opinions factors, no. Just because today is this Labor Day? Because Labor Day weekend leads up to Labor Day, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Well,
I wasn't sure.
Oh,
because my dad was like he had a doctor's appointment on Friday. So I kind of saw him, at home later than he usually is. So I was like, wait, is it Friday that's Labor Day, or is it Monday that's Labor Day?
It's the whole Labor Day
apparently
weekend.
Today is Labor Day.
Because I remember, that was the deal as a kid. Like, oh, man, it's Labor Day weekend. We're going to show all these shows or commercial. But that's really only one additional day off, which is Monday. And I don't know what the laws of the national holiday of Labor Day are. But I don't know people who take off on Labor Day. I mean,
You don't know people? You know people or don't know people?
I don't know people.
Oh, I mean, I know a lot of government jobs definitely have it off. Probably not so much retail jobs, but
But then what's even the point?
Yeah.
We're here today working for you, the viewer at home. Between pods, because it's a fresh new month. This is the first time it's the very beginning of a month. It is September 1st. I normally like to upload videos at the end of the month. And October 31st is the 1-year anniversary of the original H2O Just Add Water video, which people really liked. And then I got a ton of comments on that initial video last year. I think the most amount of people that have at least come together to ask me to cover the same thing, which was the sequel series Mako Mermaids, which I did. For those of you just listening to this and maybe not into the goings-on and the news, I tried to upload the video on YouTube. It would only let me appeal some of the claims, or what's the one that's not, is appeal the lesser one or is appeal the stronger one?
I forget. I think you initially dispute the claim.
Right.
And then they might I forget the terms. Basically, the initial automatic claim, you can dispute it.
Yes.
They can either kind of continue to enforce it or drop the claim. Normally, if you've never had the issue with them before, and it also depends on the rights holder itself, they'll usually, no matter what, they'll always reject your dispute, and then you can, I think, do a counter notification or whatever, and that's where you kind of say, I'm putting my money where my mouth is.
That's where
I'm willing to go to court over this. Yeah,
right.
You appeal, I guess, and then that eventually they're at the point where they have to either, theoretically pursue legal action or shut up.
Yeah.
It is kind of sad though, because I've had my run-ins with Fresh TV, and nowadays it seems that they just don't fuck with me, or I'll always get the automatic claim, and then I'll dispute it, and often it's all dropped at once.
Interesting.
And
so
because of that, I've been fortunate enough to
Have you ever appealed, which is the one above dispute? Okay, I've never done
that.
That's
where they
before.
Ask you for your information or a legal
yeah,
legal
because they make it so fucking scary. They're like, if this is wrong,
dude, I felt
we're gonna
bad
kill
for
you.
Because I think there was a point in time, and I don't want to go too in depth because we are public, where I was kind of, I don't want to say being pushy to you, but kind of strong arming you, being like, dude, this is within your right. But
yeah,
it's kind of scary. Well, you're really.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
They intimidate you.
It is really intimidating for anyone that doesn't make videos. They give you so many warnings, and it's also, in big fucking text, they're like, well, if they deem that, it's not even if this is incorrect, because everything I do is under fair use. I don't think that's under question at all. But it was Quentin that incentivized me to do it, because he had recorded his cameo for it last, and I'm like, oh yeah, sorry for making you rush to do this, because he was busy doing something else. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be a while before the video comes out anyway, full video. That's what I was going to say, is that the process of getting Mako Mermaids, the video, up on YouTube, I could only appeal some of the claims and then dispute other ones. So, regardless, I have to wait, I think 27 more days to see if the dispute is recognized by them. Because if not, if they don't do anything, then it's just lifted after that amount of time. But the amount of time is in their court. So it could
Yeah.
at most, well, not even at most. As far as the dispute goes, it could be another 27 days. And then at the very end, if they're like, actually, no, this is copyright, then I can bump them all up to an appeal. And that's like a week. So at most, it could still be like 30 something days before it's on YouTube. But this time I'm going to fight it because normally I would just be like, I don't want to appeal. This seems like too much. I don't want my channel terminated, but I think I've got a decent amount of tenure now that I don't need to worry about it as much. And I, for the first time, nutted up and tried appealing the claims on the Izzy video. I mean, that's already almost at 6 million, and I haven't seen anything from that. And it's you know, the damage is already done. I don't really mind it as much. The fact alone that I can... Things have been tough this year, without getting too much into it, but that's not just a me thing. I think times have been tough for everyone this year, and just in general living here. But if I can like live paycheck to paycheck, but continue doing this, which is what I've always wanted to do and what I love doing, I don't view it as that big of an issue. As long as I don't get any major health surprise, I should be okay. I just want to be able to, like, you know, continue to do it because this is obviously the thing I want to do.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm not as, like, heartbroken, like, oh, I missed out on these $100,000 or something. I don't know what the conversion rate is, but something like that.
I wouldn't know, but yeah, it's definitely, it would have,
yeah. I'm never one to, like, and maybe it's because, maybe this is just, like, a point of privilege that I never really had to worry about it as much when I was living with my family, but it's not as big of an issue for me where I'm like, I'm never going to be worried about how I'm going to survive. Sometimes I get in my own head, like, do I really need to get this food today because then I'm not going to have this much. But I don't think I'll ever, like, be in danger. I mean, I could be wrong. You never know how worse things are going to get. But as of right now, I think I'm okay, and I try not to let it bother me too much because there's not much I can do about it. But that one... I want to see how the test on the Izzy video works as far as the appeal goes. Because if it goes through, then the appeal is probably a safe bet. But as far as the Mako Mermaids video goes, it's in full on Patreon right now. Anyone with a... This is going to sound like an ad, but I'm just explaining because I fear a lot of people haven't seen the announcement. As a lot of people don't really see the announcements. Maybe because I just delist them too quickly, but I like making little trailers for all the videos. That video is on Patreon, so I did technically get it done by August 31st. It's mainly just YouTube that's preventing it from going up. Who knows? Maybe halfway through the dispute, they'll be like, all right, yeah, whatever, allow it. Maybe it'll be up sooner than we think.
Yeah, but sometimes they do that, but sorry. You can keep going.
No, I'll just say that's the deal for right now. I'm letting everyone know that I'm not putting it on the Patreon because I'm like, everyone needs to pay to see this video. If I had it my way, everyone would be able to see it. All I can do is wait for YouTube to surpass the time, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, and this is partially me, you know, I haven't had to fight anyone or kind of like dispute a claim in a while for anyone other than Fresh TV. So were some of the clips blocked the video, and did some of them block the video entirely and some just kind of claim the money? Okay, that's definitely part of it, because I'm pretty sure at least what happened with the Total Drama videos is that I would post them and they would get, you know, the kind of automatic content ID claim. I would dispute all of them, and then the videos would be put into escrow. But since the videos were never blocked, I don't think there was ever an issue where I couldn't show the video yet, because I think there is a procedure when the video is blocked where you can dispute it or kind of elevate it to counter notification immediately. Though this is definitely me I haven't brushed up on this in a good 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, fortunately, a lot of the rights holders are just generally, they're fine with having their stuff posted. Basically, they'll just they'll just claim a certain amount of revenue.
Like even
they don't
a claim,
block it
at least the
entirely.
video is up and people can see it.
Yeah, and I assume a good amount of your videos just have that. Like it's like, Viacom claims the material in this, so
yeah. I mean, before I was
whatever.
disputing and appealing as much, the Stoked video was claimed for a little bit, but it was still allowed up.
Yeah,
I think the main ones that outright block, in my experience, have been obviously the WWE, and Scholastic was another one. Like before I made these long review style videos, we did one where we did a show where we would watch stuff and do commentary, and I would put edits in there. And one for Halloween, we watched some Goosebumps episodes, and that one was outright blocked. And that's the first time I ever tried to put a red filter on a video. And then in the childhood trauma video, that one is still blocked in a bunch of territories. because of both the WWE and Scholastic. And I'm sure Viacom is in there as well. That was the thing with the Barnyard video too, is that one was blocked. Chad is saying, do you think
How
16 is an
helpful
easy
or
show to get copyrighted for using clips? What's interesting is the H2O video, which used a lot of footage, it's fair use, but used a lot of the footage and stuff, that wasn't claimed at all. And I don't know if it is or isn't but H2O in full you can watch on YouTube. Stoked was claimed, and that series is also mostly on YouTube, but I disputed it and it was fine. 16, I'm not sure, even though, well, you can watch all the 16 episodes on YouTube, but they aren't uploaded by an official account. It's like that one, I don't want to out anyone, but it's that one account called like Retro TV or something. I don't know if that's exactly the name, but I can't imagine it's an official source. But if that person's allowed to upload full episodes, then maybe it'll be all right. But I sort of put myself in a box and said I would only talk about 16 if the Stoked video got to 1 million, because I was way more optimistic about it. Now it's seeming more and more like I might have to move the goalpost or just not talk about 16. It's not on my radar right now anyway.
Since I said that if the Stoked video gets 900,000 views, I would make the 16 video. And now that the Stoked video has hit 800,000 views, I'm gonna make the 16 video as according to the 750,000 rule that I imposed upon us or whatever.
Well, there's a conversion rate, due to inflation. That's only like 500. 1 million is like 500,000 views by today's views. It's a lot. And if things get really bad and I'm like, oh shit, I'm in dire straits, then I'll just I'll do the 16 video just because I'll need people to watch. But
well, let me ask you,
yes.
How many times do you have to try and upload a red version before you get one that doesn't fight you or whatever?
I try from 3 levels of severity. Obviously, there's like the original uncensored one, and then instead of going back through the entire video file and going like video by video and reading everything, I get the video file that I used in the timeline in editing software, make that slightly more red, like 50% more red, and then go into the original timeline and make that video file offline and then link the red one. So that way it's a lot easier than, going through every individual clip. I do a little bit of red where you can still see what's going on, but there's a red undertone. If that doesn't pass, then I make it a deeper red, and if that doesn't pass, then I put text over the red.
Okay. Yeah, because after the World Tour video, and to be fair, this is once again with Fresh TV specifically, where I'd kind of developed a system. I remember before that, I had uploaded the action video and the World Tour video, like upwards of like 10, 15 times. And I was basically, at least with World Tour, I was re-rendering it with, silly little like Courtney edits every single time.
Yeah.
And then uploading it overnight. But one thing I found out is that, even if it doesn't initially flag anything, it'll often flag it again in a couple of days. And that's when I realized, at least for Fresh TV, it's better to just kind of upload it and just, stand on business, I suppose. And usually that works out. But
yeah,
I don't know. I've always wondered, at least in the modern day, how much the red stuff actually works. It probably does sometimes if you really, really distort it. But even that, like, I don't know if people remember this because this is a small detail from a video that came out 3 years ago. But in the World Tour video, when I show the final two confessing their love for each other, like I put on 5 layers worth of like stupid effects. Yeah. And that still got claimed after a while. So I after that I was like, all right, yeah, this isn't. I don't know if this is really doing that much, but.
The ones that are pretty severely red are the second musical episodes video, and then the Santa Claus's show video, and then the Barnyard video. And I mean, I don't want to, once you say something out loud, then people start noticing it, and they're like, you know what, this person's right. And maybe I don't want people to stop watching that video if they like that video, but I was really disappointed about how it turned out on YouTube. And sort of how it turned out in general because of that, because that's the one main people are watching. And that one got a decent amount of views, and I was sort of like upset about it. I was like, oh man, this is like, there is a better version. And now that I've become a little bit more emboldened and brave about this, because to my understanding, it could just be total hogwash, meant to like scare you, smoke and mirrors style, that if they reject your appeal, it could cause like a copyright strike on your channel potentially. Right? That's what they say.
Yeah.
Um,
Although, honestly, one thing I'll also say is that YouTubers kind of have each other's backs. Like, even if that did
yes.
happen, you could definitely raise a stink. And I mean, I definitely amplify that. I'm sure like we both of us have enough cachet
Hmm.
to get help in that situation. And usually I think in the long term things usually go the right direction. Not always
Yeah.
though. I don't want to.
Well, I'm
There's probably a
starting with
situation where
the Izzy video because that one's never been monetized. And if at any point they're like, "Oh no, we gotta," people really, really love the Izzy video and still watch it to this day. So if there's like additional problems with that, I think a company would be more incentivized or more likely to be like, "All right, just let it pass." Because
yeah,
surely,
no.
I don't try and get a big head about like my place on the internet, but surely like people who work on Total Drama have seen that video or at least heard
Tom
about it.
McGillis apparently knows who I am, so
That's horrifying. I don't I don't
yeah.
want anyone to know who I am.
No, like they did a Q&A last year. And to
Oh,
be
okay.
fair, he might have just been told to say this by someone else, but like I was in the Q&A, ask a question, and he's like, "Hi, Switchy."
Oh.
And that's like weird
He
to
looked
hear
right
because
at
like
the camera.
I could no like well I don't know if he did. I think he looked down, but he looked at his phone. But that's like a weird thing to happen because I remember like back in when I was maybe in like 2021, I imagine like Christian Potenza watching my video and wanting me to die or something. I was
He said, "Hey, you want to be the new voice? We're casting a new voice of the next season, and we saw your video, and we think you're the perfect voice for this next season." They should have me right on the show.
Dude, no, honestly, I think if I wrote on the show, I'd realize like how bad I am at actually writing, and then I'd be
Well,
really humbled.
because like we're thinking when we talk about the series in what's the word I'm looking for? Like after the fact. Oh man. What's the fake fucking joke superhero from South Park? Oh man. It's like where you think about it after the fact. Hindsight. We're thinking about it in
Hindsight.
hindsight. And we think that like Total Drama is a lot like these other modern cartoons, your Steven Universes, your Avatars or whatever, that have like this huge Bible and they're like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. But what we learned by studying the show and seeing how it goes is it kind of seems like it's written episode by episode, and they don't really have like an overarching plan. They maybe have rough ideas
Oh
of what
yeah,
they want to do.
yeah, no,
So I
absolutely.
think us
I mean,
going in there and being like, okay, so this is what we want to do for the season, and these are going to be the final two. It's like that's not really how they write the show actively.
yeah, I mean, they probably have like the basic idea of whom they want to last and whom they want, to be the finalists and stuff like that. But I think well, I mean, I'll say this about the Izzy theory, and I think that has to do a lot with how people consider things canon. Um, I think I definitely would not say that there was an intentional there was intention on behalf of Fresh TV to have Izzy be this mastermind.
Yeah,
And what I
no.
mean by that is I don't think that was like an active plan. That being said, yeah,
Well,
I actually agree with you that it literally solves a few plot points. But
yeah.
I'll say it as someone who loves the show and someone who doesn't necessarily think continuity is the most important thing in the world. I think that frankly, they weren't sticking super closely to I would say well-defined rules with who should do what and why they should do it or whatever in the show in some ways to a fault. I mean, I think one of the most infamous moments in the first season is when Gwen in the finale talks shit about all these characters, including Jeff.
Yeah.
And that's like an oversight, all things considered. Like, I don't think we're supposed to think about it that deeply, but that's the kind of thing that honestly, after season 3, they absolutely would have kept in track. I think that was one of the habits they really nipped in the bud. But there was there are like some annoying inconsistencies in Island that I don't know are really easy to kind of get a little bummed out about.
Mm-hmm. They had a lot of. They didn't. I think they were just playing it by vibes. They're like, oh, what characters do we really like writing for? And I imagine that's why they
Oh yeah.
brought Izzy back like later. They're like, oh, you know what? This was actually a fun character. Let's just bring her back.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I assume they made an outline for the entire show. Actually, I don't know. I mean,
I'm not so
I'd
certain
love to
about
ask
that.
them one day and kind of get into their brains.
Yeah. Well, I think the
But
reason Owen made it all the way to the end is because they just had a lot of fun writing him, and they never wanted to get rid of him. So like, yeah, let's keep him around.
yeah, potentially. I mean, I guess I just don't know. I always assumed, or maybe not always. I think for the past few years, or since maybe as a teenager, I assumed they had kind of the elimination order drafted. They had some basic ideas, maybe like written down what they want each character to do in a season and when they want to go. But I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It's an interesting way to write
I don't
the
really know
show.
how these kinds of. Sorry, what'd you say?
Oh, it's an interesting way to write the show. Because you
Yeah.
also, because we can have like we can write down plot points, but you also, you know, you need to write each individual episode, and stuff needs to happen
Yeah.
in them that's entertaining.
Yeah.
But the reason I brought
Allegedly.
it up is, yeah, well, depending. The reason I brought it up is because, like I said, it's if they reject the appeal, it could be a copyright strike or something. And I don't want to, if that's a possibility, it's likely not, but if that's a possibility, I don't want to appeal a bunch of videos at once on the off chance that they all get striked at the same time, because that's a bunch stacking on top of each other. So I'm testing it out with the Izzy video. If the appeal goes through, then I will, I suppose, upload the Patreon version of the musical video from 2023 and appeal that. And if that goes through, then I'll do it with the Santa Claus. I actually don't know if I made a non-red version of that video. I'll have to look back. And then I'll try it with the Barnyard again. The Barnyard! I'm going to slowly go through all of them and see if I... Because ideally, I mean, I obviously want the Patreon to be worth its while, and I've been doing a lot this year to, 1, have extra content on it, 2, have uncensored videos on it, 3, create a server that people want to be in and watch a lot of new shows and play a lot of games, 4, give them opportunities on stream to appear on stream through the Patreon, and 5, give them opportunities while in the server to have their voices heard in videos, and that's what the next video after Mako Mermaids is sort of going to be. And I want to, ideally, survive off of Patreon, so that way on YouTube I don't have to worry as much, and I can kind of just do whatever weird experimental shit I want. And that's the way I've kind of been going. The videos vary rapidly in viewership. I mean, this is the first year so far I haven't had a video that's broke 100,000. And also maybe the first year I haven't got one to 1 million. I seem to have fallen off. But I want to get to the point where I can kind of just... I'm proud of everything I made, and I kind of just want to make them for me, and I want to get to that point. However, I'd also, you know, YouTube is my main place. I love YouTube. It's where all the content is centralized. I would obviously like all of the uncensored videos to be on YouTube. So I'm going to do everything in my power to do that, but then also make original content for the Patreon that people find worth watching or worth pledging money towards the cause, which makes it sound more important than it is. But yeah, that's just, I wanted to explain, the Mako Mermaids video is not on YouTube, it is on Patreon. It might be on YouTube eventually, it just might take a little bit. And that's the main BH Ultra news that happened between weeks. But not as far as video game news goes. We, in a previous lost episode of Switch 2 Ultra, actually the episode before that, you brought, sorry, Twitch chat is asking, do you know how to sing? I do sing. I don't know if that means I know how to sing. I guess the main metric for that is that I was in theater a lot in high school, and we had musicals and plays. We had a spring play and a winter, I think it's a fall play and a spring musical, or maybe a winter musical. And whenever I would audition for the plays, I would get the leads or the lead in the play. And then whenever I would audition for the musical with the same acting capability, I would be put in the ensemble way in the back. So that's a metric for how good I am at singing, that it varied so rapidly that the director was like, all right, let's put you all the way back here. So I don't think I'm very good at it.
I was terrified of it. Like I skipped school the day of one of my not recitals, auditions, because it required us to sing. Mm-hmm. So I just faked being sick so I didn't have to audition.
I mean, were you in the show?
No, I ended up not being in the show
Well,
because
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, would I rather sing in front of a few of my teachers and pick a song and potentially, and I wanted to be in a play. I mean, I love
Yeah.
doing drama, but I don't know, I had too much social anxiety that I literally just wimped out.
I
I kind
was
of wish, because honestly, it was a Little Shop of Horrors, and I
Oh,
think I
I
probably
love
would have
Little
been a good
Shop.
Seymour, but I didn't have that bravery in me, I suppose.
No, I was in because I was a teenager. I was very drenched in like irony and like pseudo irony. It's one of those things where like if you mess up or you're worried about messing up, so you just quote "don't try," and you're like, I didn't even care. I didn't even try. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So whenever I would go up, I'd always do like bit songs because I knew I wasn't gonna get a good role anyway. So one year, me and my friend went up and we just did the Drake and Josh theme song. That was what we performed for our audition, and I was cool with the director. I suppose she appreciated it, but I forgot what I was saying. Oh, right. On a previous installment of Switch 2 Ultra, last time on Switch 2 Ultra, you brought a Twitter post by Central Leaks to my attention that had a long list of Mega Evolutions coming to Legend ZA. And we showed it very brazenly because I didn't believe it. I thought there's no way this is true. There's no way this is real. This is some Twitter account, a verified Twitter account in 2025, more so. And I didn't think it was likely to be real. And then we went back to the list and we each drew our own versions of, I think we each picked five, right? Five of those Mega
Yeah,
Evolutions, which is a good half of the list. And it's interesting that we have been getting additional Mega Evolutions, and this all stemmed from the announcement, or this was right before the announcement of Mega Dragonite, which was on the list, and that's what spurred about the creation of our additional Megas, is we're like, oh, this one is correct. Although it didn't have additional details, it was just a list of them. However,
well, actually, there was also a leak that had like what's it called, rumored design. So there was like a list of all the what's it called, the Mega Evolutions, and I'll send you the links later,
oh.
where it had like said like, oh, Mega Dragonite has wings on its head, blah blah
Well,
blah.
how close
Or,
were our designs then? Were they close?
well, I mean, I haven't kind of compared it one to one.
Oh,
I kind of
okay.
avoided it, to be honest
Yeah,
with
I
you.
didn't know
But
that
looking
list was
back,
it. So if anything we make ends
um,
up being a Mega, that's just a really, really good guess.
yeah. But the Victory Bell, for example, I think in the list it said Victory Bell was, holding its mouth closed, for example. So, and actually, there's an artist. I'll send you the link too, and
Okay.
it's pretty cool art of this guy kind of making his what he thinks the Mega Evolution would look like based on the leak. And all that's to say is that spoiler warning. I mean, we probably know we know everything that's going to be in the game, for better or for worse.
Yeah, probably. Well, that's my thing is the more and more information that comes out, the more and more I believe it. Like, even after Mega Dragonite, the reason I was okay with doing all those drawings is I'm like, well, this is just a really good guess. Like, they got one right. But since then, we have gotten two announcements of two Mega Evolutions. And I think the amount of Megas is another thing we talked about, where we thought it was weird during the, is that Discoon? I think it's just no, that's a Pokemon plush. We thought it was weird during the Legend ZA, was it a direct, or it was a Pokemon Presents? During the Pokemon Presents from, I believe, 2 months ago, it was weird that the only Mega they revealed is Dragonite. I think you said something about that, right? That it was weird, or you felt a little cheated that it was only one Mega they announced and we thought there were going to be more.
Yeah.
Yeah. But since then, I mean, in the span of 1 week, it's interesting that these are specifically back to back. I was okay with the fact of, or the idea of getting a handful of Megas announced ahead of time, and then a bunch of other ones are secrets, quote unquote secrets, when the game releases. But the game releases in a month and a half, let's say. And we just got two Megas announced between the previous installment of Switch 2 Ultra and this installment of Switch 2 Ultra.
Oh yeah, it's getting fast then.
Right, so I don't know if there's going to be two more between episodes again, but it's possible that entire list will just be announced before the game comes out. Yeah. I guess they want to give people options.
I mean, I guess I'm hoping that they maybe show off, 10 to 15, preferably closer to 10. But I mean, I think more than anything, like, I like when they
There it
show stuff
is.
off. I wouldn't want them to show only one thing off, but
Yeah.
you know, I would prefer more, but not too many. That's literally such a Goldilocks kind of statement. But I don't know. I mean, I think they're going a little fast. I don't want everything to be shown off. I mean, definitely, I don't want any of the mega legendary things, but at the same time, I will say the promotional material so far has been pretty cool. Like, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool what we just
This
saw
video
right
has
there.
been really fun. Yeah. It's reminiscent of they did one for Scarlet and Violet, I believe, and it was the ghost dog in the ice area. And I remember back during Sword and Shield's hype release, the hype cycle, that they did that 24-hour live stream in the Glimwood Tangle, where for a minute over multiple times in the 24-hour broadcast is where we first saw Galarian Ponyta. I think that's really fun. I also hope, if they are going to show off at least half the megas, I hope they officially show off everything that we didn't do in our little artist competition. I hope the 10 megas that we drew are the secret ones, so that way we can discover them throughout the game. So we're learning more about Mega Victory Bell, which is grass and poison. I believe it was always grass and poison. Nearly overflowing with acid. The energy of Mega Evolution has produced such a large amount of acid within Mega Victory Bell's body that it has to wrap up its own throat to prevent the acid from spilling out. As a result, it doesn't keep its mouth open while waiting for prey like Victory Bell does. Instead, it actively goes after prey to take it down in a distinctly aggressive style. Its massive body can deliver tackles that are packed with destructive force. The sweet-smelling acid can melt steel. When all that acid has matured, it smells sweet enough to make others dizzy. Mega Victory Bell waves the leaves on the top of its head to waft the scent towards opponents, immobilizing them and giving it an edge in battle. The acid's melting capabilities are also powered up. It can even melt through concrete or steel. So trainers who use Mega Victory Bell in battle will need to keep that in mind. Do you think that's going to be a game mechanic, or do you think that's just flavor text?
At least in the main series, I assume it's gonna get like the ability corrosion, so it can poison steel types or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised.
Smart.
Which it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun.
What was
I mean, there
what
really
was
isn't
the
like that many good
controversy?
Pokemon with that ability yet.
What was the controversy that this game doesn't have abilities? Is that what it was?
Oh yeah, this game doesn't have abilities.
Yeah.
Which I mean, the original Legends didn't have it either.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of abilities wouldn't really work in the gameplay style this has. So, I mean, that's not really a surprise to me.
Yeah.
I did see some people, and I kind of agree that they might still hard code some abilities into the game, because they did do that with Legends Arceus, where, for example, Regigigas still starts out sucking. So they might still do stuff like that. So, I mean, maybe Mega Kangaskhan will still like double hit and stuff like that, but for the most part, it's definitely a little simplified.
So this original video, this 4x3 captured video within the lore of Pokemon, was uploaded or premiered August 21st. And then this one, which was also announced a day before, went up on August 28th. I guess that was a week later. Maybe we just didn't talk about the last one, which is a matchup between Hawlucha and Machamp. I also like that the titling scheme here, if we could see it. It says full match, Hawlucha versus Machamp. That is how wrestling companies title their uploads of matches on YouTube. And it's interesting how connected they've been to different wrestling companies. Let's see what happens to Hawlucha first. I saw some very strong opinions about the design of... I think the idea going into this is like, it is very clearly going to announce a Mega, but they didn't know which one. Was it going to be... Well, we have a Mega Machamp, don't we?
No, we don't.
We don't? What am I don't know what I'm... Oh, I'm picturing Gigantamax Machamp. I assume all the Kantomons just have Megas now, since those are the most with
It's a
them.
fair assumption to make.
Yeah. It would have been funny if this was Machamp, and then the three we've seen announced were Dragonite, Victory Bell, and Machamp. And it's just all going to be Kantomons. I'm glad they mixed it up with Hawlucha. A Pokemon I always... In my head, it's sort of like a... Not Lucario, but like a Munchlax situation, or Houndoom as well, where it's easier to get in the later generation, so I always think about it as that one. Like, Hawlucha to me is still a Sun and Moon Pokemon. I keep forgetting that it was introduced in Kalos.
Interesting.
Because
I think I just remember seeing Hawlucha for the first time too vividly to have to feel that way.
I didn't use a lot of new Mon when I played X and Y because the idea was the
Because
Mega.
there was like
So
10 of them, right?
yeah, and they keep giving
Oh.
you older Pokemon, and I got the pre-order, which gives you a Torchic as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I'm now remembering like how kitschy it was to give you a freaking Kanto starter. It's like,
Yeah.
come on.
I think I said this on the pod, but I pre-ordered the game or got it before the next year. So you get the mystery gift Torchic with a Blazikenite. And then I chose Delphox as my starter. I chose Fennekin as my starter. And then also got a Charmander from Professor Sycamore. And I was like, oh, I'll just catch whatever the earliest thing is. And then I caught a Fletchling. So my team for the first half of the game was just Charizard, Blaziken,
Fire.
Delphox, yeah, and Fletchinder. Yeah, this design that people said didn't look too different. First of all, the reason I think it's from Kalos, or from what I've heard, is because masked wrestling actually was initially formed in France. So there's a lot of history here in Mega Halucha in general. But I also wanted to cover the fact that they're apparently partnering with CMLL. And CMLL is the current oldest, like, concurrent running wrestling organization. Like, this one reaches farther back than any American or Japanese wrestling company. And that's the idea, is that I hear from a lot of people that only live here when they talk about professional wrestling in the context of it being a very, like, you know, Texas Southern hillbilly thing. That's the idea with the South Park episode. But professional wrestling as an art form is respected way more in places like specifically Mexico and Japan. Like, they treat it a lot more. They treat it like royalty. And the people who play characters who are characters, like someone like Tiger Mask, who had a Tekken character based off of him, had his own manga, had his own anime. The masked character was treated like a human person, a wrestler. And whenever the wrestler that was doing the act was portraying Tiger Mask and they passed away, they would pass on the mask to their next of kin. So it's very big there. I don't know what this means, what a partnership between Legends ZA and CMLL is. I don't know if it's just going to be trading cards or if it seems like they're holding a literal event in Arena, Mexico on the 25th of September. So we'll circle back to this and see what that was. I don't know what it could be. It could be a Smash Fest 99 situation where they just have someone in a Halucha costume, or maybe a wrestler, a sponsored match, because WWE does a lot of sponsored matches that are very ridiculous, that have branding all over it. Like, I talked about Bray Wyatt in the Bray Wyatt video, and I didn't get far enough in the timeline, but his final match in the WWE was a Mountain Dew Pitch Black match.
Yeah,
it starts to overreach a lot. So maybe it's a tie-in where they just have a match, and one of their head wrestlers who are famous around that country, could just be portraying Mega Halucha. Because the gear looks remarkably similar to a lot of CMLL's wrestlers specifically. It's reminiscent of Mystico, who was huge there, and then came to the West and didn't do very well in the WWE and then left. Or was replaced with a different guy under a mask. So that's the extent of what I know about the Mega Halucha design. It clinches victory using its powerful flying press. It uses its muscles bulked up by Mega Evolution to take hit after hit from opponents' moves and flex its own strength. After luring its opponents into attacking, it retaliates to make them flinch before diving at them using its signature move Flying Press to aim for victory. So what do you think of the reveals of both Mega Halucha and Mega Victory Bell?
I think it's cool. It's fun. I think it's at a good pace. I mean, they're kind of, you know, putting on some pizzazz. I mean, these animated shorts, I mean, they're probably not cheap to make. They're definitely not cheap to make.
If it was the 21st, the 28th. So that was Thursday. So we'll see what happens. Well, September 4th is
more
when
likely
Pokemon.
Than not, we're gonna get something on Thursday.
September 4th,
on...
Pokemon Concierge Season 2, I think, drops on Netflix on that same day. So maybe we will get something on September 4th. Nintendo tends to do things on Thursday anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the day of the Presents. Or maybe that was a Tuesday.
I think, yeah. But, you know, honestly, I think we're probably in for weekly Mega Evolutions until the game comes out. Maybe not, but I don't know.
The game does come out on a Thursday. We have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... Not counting the games. Yeah, we have 6 Thursdays between the announcement of Mega Halucha and the release of the game. So assuming we get a mega each week, that's not revealing all of them. So there's still going to be a substantial amount left within the game. I just hope the
Yeah.
6 they show off are not ones that we listed.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
however,
And,
this,
honestly, for me, if that's the case, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's a good amount without, just kind of, showing everything,
yeah.
kind of a thing I don't like.
What spurred this on is the big list. Do we know where the list is sourced from? The list of megas?
There might be information about it. I just don't know.
Potentially. Well, Central Leaks was the tweet, and that is really just, I don't think there's any information that Central Leaks has. It's mainly just a source for all of the leaks. So if we are believing this list and are believing Central Leaks, and they've been wrong before, then this could potentially be a spoiler. So for anyone that doesn't want to see spoilers,
yeah, I'm being kind of tight-lipped. Yeah. No, yeah.
But I do want to show this off just in case. That I said earlier that I hope all the megas they show off are not the megas we covered so we could discover them in the game. And you said that there is a list of descriptions for all of these other megas that I did not know about and you did not look at. So if we have any designs that are similar, it's a crazy coincidence. And I believe today or the day before, or maybe the day before that, Central Leaks tweeted this image out from getting the model of the character and then trying to color it in of let me just open the image over here, of a Mega Starmie. And I gotta say, this kind of looks a lot like the Mega Starmie I designed. Editor, go ahead and put my Mega Starmie on screen. Let's do a little comparison. I didn't know this, but that wasn't even like a solid prediction. I wanted to do a bit, so I'm like, okay, what's the stupidest this thing could look? And I guess the answer is that it looks more like a guy. So this I'm not so sold on. Again, we're showing it not because I'm certain it's in the game, but this could be wrong. It seems wrong. But maybe this is just because we're looking at the model and not the official art. Maybe it'll be cooler. However, the reason I went with that design is because it happened in the previous Legends game as well, where when they were making 2D art or sprites, and they had to design evolutions or pre-evolutions of Pokemon or forms, they were designed to be as impressive as possible through 2D art and sprite art. But in the modern 3D and now HD era of Pokemon, the most impressive thing you could do is just stretch a model. And that's what they did with the Quillfish evolution and Legends Arceus Overquill, where all they did was stretch the vertices, and it looks like they're doing that again with Starmie, if this is to be believed.
Yeah.
Do you believe this image of Mega Starmie?
I kind of do, although I'm not happy about it. I'll be honest. There's something about these Mega Evolutions so far. Maybe it's intentional. They don't feel the same as the X and Y Mega Evolutions do. I think maybe it's just a different kind of design philosophy. It's been, good 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, I like Mega Dragonite. Although, I mean, I'm not, super in love with it. I think Mega Dragonite, at least for me, kind of does have, I've wanted a Mega Dragonite for 12 years. So, there's so many things that there's so much fan art that I've seen over the years that it's kind of hard to be totally happy with what we actually get, just because, I think you grow attached to all these things that potentially could be, because there's so much speculation, there's so much talk. But I like it nonetheless. I think it's really cute. And you have Mega Victory Bell, which I don't mind, but
I like Mega Victory Bell.
It's kind of goofy, and I mean, there's definitely a place for goofy, like silly Mega Evolutions. I
like it more than this one.
Yeah, but I'm like worried how many of these Mega Evolutions aren't going to be like I think a lot of people want classic X and Y style, like cool ass over designed Mega Evolutions. I mean, I definitely do.
They're all shaped like X's or Y's.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'm gonna co-sign that, but
well, look at Mega Halucha is perfectly Y-shaped.
It's kind of an X actually, because his feet are going out.
See, that's the thing is it's hard to tell which ones are X's and which ones are Y's, because they're gonna look the same at the top.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, the idea of just a longer Starmie, it's not very enticing to me.
No,
I don't know.
Twitch chat says,
Mega
by the way.
Bell,
Twitch chat says, by the way, the list came from a build that was leaked in the Game Freak leak last year. So that's where the information is
Oh,
coming from.
okay. Well, then, yeah, it's pretty good. And this
I
is
do
pretty good
remember
source of
that because I
information.
forgot that the game got announced at the beginning of 2024, and then
Yeah.
the build got leaked, and they're like, "Yeah, it's not finished." Well, we still got the tail end of these Nintendo Switch games, but we have release dates. The next major Nintendo game is going to be Pokemon Legends ZA, I believe. And then a month after that, it's going to be Kirby Air Riders. And then we're not so sure about Hyrule Warriors. I think that's still in winter. And we haven't heard anything about Metroid Prime 4. However, we started this show at the very end of March, right before a Nintendo Direct. Two Nintendo Directs, technically. Well, it was after the Nintendo Switch 1 Direct and before the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. And then all throughout the summer, over multiple installments of the show, we kept saying there's not going to be a June Direct, a July Direct, an August Direct. There's not going to be a Summer Direct. I think everything that they wanted to show off would be before then, and we have the Switch launch already. But the timeline of events from the end of last year to like June this year, to the launch of the Switch, seemed very messy. It didn't seem like that was initially the plan. Most years, aside from your 2020s, which, had a issue. Well, actually, no, that one still does apply. Basically, aside from this year and last year, every year since the launch of the Switch, the schedule was the same. As that there was a Direct in February, there was a Direct in June or July, the Summer Direct. It normally coincided with E3. That doesn't exist anymore. And there was a September Direct. There's been a September Direct every year since that moment, even the years where there's almost nothing to show off, even if the Directs are small. And we've been saying for months and months that there's not going to be a Direct in the summer, but it seems we're coming up on the end of summer, and now we are entering September. So I wouldn't say my opinion has changed. My opinion was always that back in June, I was like, the next time we get a full Direct, it will be September. And now it is September. It's September 1st.
I was waffly about it. I'm not going to pretend that I knew this was happening. I think I've kind of gone back and forth where I'm like, oh, well, maybe it could happen.
I think we got excited a little bit about the prospect of there being one because people were saying
but I
it.
wasn't. I guess I was. I definitely wasn't expecting it enough to be disappointed. Leaving July with no Direct. I definitely wasn't. In that state of mind.
But I will say, I do think there will be a Nintendo Direct in September. I'll lock that in. It's not going to be a separate Switch 1 and Switch 2 Direct. I think it's going to be like the early Nintendo Switch Directs or the early Directs of the Nintendo Switch era, where it was like half Switch games and the other half were like 3DS games that people didn't play because they were late year 3DS games. I think it's going to be a good year and a half maybe just like a year from now, until they stop releasing Nintendo Switch 1 games and fully lock into the Switch 2. Because we know that there are still multiple Switch 1 games coming out throughout next year, throughout 2026. The only reason I bring this up is because suppose a trusted person, and by that I mean you just hear a name over and over again and it starts repeating it, starts making sense. Twitter poster Nate the Hate 2 says, yes, there is a Nintendo Direct in September. When? The second week of the month. In the latter half, on or around September 11th or September 12th. So from today, which is currently September 1st, that should be next Friday or next Thursday. They normally don't do those on those days. Regardless, we won't have any additional information come next episode of Switch 2 Ultra. However, the episode after that, episode 24, it's possible that a Nintendo Direct, a proper full Nintendo Direct, could happen between them. And what's interesting is what's also brought up down here is that this year is Mario's 40th anniversary, as 2020 was Mario's 35th anniversary. And we talked about the release of toys and Legos and apps and whatnot, but the actual day of Mario's, I guess, birth, his 40th birthday, his big 4-0, is in September. And I've been researching 2020 because I'm working on the third part of that Smash Bros. Video, so I could talk about the second Fighter's Pass. And the last Mario Direct that announced Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, and Mario 35, and Mario 3D All-Stars, that was a September Direct. It was in September of 2020. So I don't think that we're going to get another Mario Direct, because I think the reason that was a Mario Direct in September is because they were games they wanted to announce in the summer, but a huge pandemic happened and kind of whisked that all away. But I do think we could get a major Mario announcement in this full Nintendo Direct. I've seen other people get really excited about the prospect of a full 3D Mario game. Again, I'm not so sure because I think the 3D Mario game is Donkey Kong Bonanza. Where I'm at right now, I think I'm about like 6 layers away from fully beating it. So I'm whittling away at that. But then I'm getting back into Kirby, and there's other games on the Switch too. I've been alternating through a lot of stuff. But what do you think the likelihood of this being real? What do you think about a Nintendo Switch Direct, or just Nintendo Direct on September 11th? Never forget that day. Or September 12th?
September 11th, maybe. September 12th is a Friday?
Yeah.
Was it? I doubt it's going to be on a Friday. That doesn't seem very Nintendo-y. The 11th, though, I could see it happening. I don't know why. Part of me is more inclined to believe it'll be on the 10th. I don't know.
I think it either needs to be earlier or later because I don't think they've ever been on a Thursday. I think more often than not they're like Tuesdays.
It's usually Tuesday or Wednesday, I think.
Yeah.
But
so I don't buy Thursday, Friday. A Friday Direct in this economy?
Thursday somewhere.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I would be very surprised if there's no Direct this September. I think that'd be really weird if there wasn't. I mean, I just not even just, maybe I'm just an impatient Nintendo fan, but I don't know. It seems like it's in their vested interest. And I'm sure they have enough to talk about. I mean, we had the initial like Tomodachi Live. I forgot when they said that was going to come out, but it was did they just say 2026? They say like winter or
no, just 2026. And it's the same thing with Rhythm Heaven.
Yeah, I mean, I assume those games are going to come out earlier in the year. Unless there's just really behemoth games that Nintendo announced really early for some reason.
Twitch chat is saying, watch it just be an Epic Universe expansion. There's a non-zero chance that the big Mario announcement is just a trailer for the second Mario movie, which we know is in development. Like, it's possible it's not a game at all.
When's that slated to come out? Do we know?
Don't know. Maybe actually,
like 2027 or some shit.
Yeah, something like that. Because they delayed the Zelda movie by a week. Super Mario Bros.
I remember that
movie release date. It says April 3rd, 2026.
Wait, really?
Yeah. All right, because we know it's called Super Mario World or something. Yeah, it's on IMDb as April 3rd, 2026.
Okay, then never mind. Yeah, we might be
we might just get a trailer for the movie, or they announce more cast members.
I guess that plot kind of snuck up on me. Oh yeah, they're gonna announce like Aziz Ansari or something.
As what? It's gonna be Rosalina.
As Luigi. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
do you remember that post where it's like Mario voiced by Aziz Ansari? Super. It's basically just this kind of like kitschy ass movie trailer joke.
Yeah.
But
he's not even in stuff anymore.
I was surprised that Chris Pratt just like did more than just the Chris Pratt voice. Because that's what I think everyone expected, or at least that's the joke everyone was making, where the Mario movie was actually just going to be a movie where comedians play themselves, basically. Yeah. You know what I mean? Those kinds of things.
I mean, that's what Seth Rogen did, but people like his Donkey Kong anyway.
Yeah, but like Mario, like they made Chris Pratt do an accent, which is just like hilarious. That's not what I think. I wasn't expecting that. He's in the Lego
movies, he's in the Garfield movies, in the Mario movie. Like, I don't know how many... Would we base it off of quality or quantity? Like, how many animated films do you need to be in to be deemed a voice actor?
I don't know. I mean, he was also in Onward, which is like the first Disney movie to have a
but that one he did just play himself in that.
Yeah.
Or he played a Jack Black type.
Yeah.
The character seems perfectly suited for Jack Black, but they're like, let's get the new
a kind-hearted doofus character. We need more of those.
Because Pratt's not fat anymore. He's got to go back to being fat if he wants to play Mario properly. He was also in Ben 10. I did not know that. Is it like how Austin Butler is credited in like every episode of Zoe 101 in the background? Or some other show. It was Ned's Declassified that he was credited in like every episode. Might be a background incidental. Well, unrelated, I might as well just say this. I put Caught Stealing, the new Darren Aronofsky movie starring Austin Butler. I put that above Bring Her Back very high. And then there was, I think, Honey Don't, I put below Doom the Dark Ages. And we finished the new season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, so I put that above Rick and Morty Season 8. Down here, these are the ones I haven't finished, and I have since started the new season of Peacemaker. Just wanted to get those in there real quick of all of those announcements. Forgot what we were just. Oh, we were talking about Chris Pratt. Yeah, I guess that movie does come out in what? October, November, December,
In
January,
6 months,
February,
six,
March,
7 months.
April.
Yeah, I mean,
Like 6, 7. Wait,
yeah.
wait a minute. Yeah, one of those months.
I don't even know what the 6-7 joke is. I just
Well,
heard people
that's the
say
thing.
it.
I was talking about this with my roommate that it's one of those. It's a meme like saying skibbity, where people say it all the time, and then somebody asks like, "Oh, what does skibbity mean?" And it's like, well, the joke is kind of that it just is repeated over and over. It doesn't really mean anything.
Oh, okay.
Like there
Like
are
the
some
game.
memes that just exist because they're repeated. I don't
Yeah.
actually know. I think it's from a song. And then there was some kid who's like, I'm the 6'7" guy. Like he tried to really push the meme. He's trying to be the next Rizzler. And it just fell. It's a pseudo ironic. People are like, "Oh yeah, this is the 6'7" guy. We got to pay attention to this."
See that with like Hawk Tua too.
Yeah, it's a new Baby Gronk situation. The Baby Gronk situation is insane. Is there anything between the weeks of Switch to Ultra before we get into our final segment that you'd like to talk about? Anything interesting happen in the world of Switchy? Swoof.
No, literally nothing. My life sucks.
That's
No,
awesome.
well,
man.
actually, I'm gonna be honest. I'm finally I'm watching through at least the really recommended stuff of The Simpsons. So
Mm.
like, as a kid, I watched season 1 and season 2, or at least most of season 2, and I kind of got bored. I don't know. I mean, I was like 11 or 12. I don't think it was that enticing to me.
It went over your head.
Yeah, I mean, I think that so I'm kind of starting at season 3, kind of going from there. I'll
Mhm.
probably stop. I think people usually recommend around season 10 you stop.
That's what I've
But
heard.
just kind of watching at the very least the really beloved stuff, and if I love it enough, I'll probably go back and watch the early stuff too.
That's what I watched a lot of Futurama, and I think the extent of Simpsons is just Halloween. And my wife is gonna visit throughout October, and she never really did Halloween, so I'm making up for like years and years of Halloween, and also future proofing. I'm trying to edit together every Halloween episode that is like officially a Halloween episode of TV, meaning it either aired in October or has Halloween in the title, and I'm putting commercials and like timely bumpers between them. And that way, once I have it, I can just watch that thing every year. But it's a big project I'm working on in the background. But yeah, really, The Simpsons for me, like I've seen all the bits, but I never watched the show in a substantial fashion. Except
Yeah.
around Halloween, where everyone's like, "Oh, you gotta watch the Treehouse of Horror ones." So I think those are the only episodes I've seen in
It's
full.
funny when like Homer.
He is funny. I love that
So
guy.
it's funny to me because there are bits when like Homer is wants a donut or says dough that I'm
Mhm.
kind of like, wait, this is like really funny.
It speaks to me
It's like
on a spiritual level.
it's like laughing at a knock knock joke. It's like, oh my god, an interrupting cow. Holy shit.
Has anyone
that's
ever thought of this
brilliant.
before?
So like I don't know, it kind of hit me.
Mhm.
But yeah, no. I was trying to watch the episode where Homer goes to a psych ward or whatever with Michael Jackson, or a guy who thinks he's Michael
Yes.
Jackson, voiced by Michael
I
Jackson.
may have seen that
But
episode
that
as well.
episode was like removed from syndication.
Yes.
Because of like Escaping Neverland, I think it's called. Kind of a bummer. I'm gonna have to find a way to watch it somehow.
Mhm.
Because I was like, I expected that to be season 3, episode 1, but instead it was an episode where Lisa, goes to Washington
Gaga.
D.C.
Mm.
And I thought, no, not that one. And I thought to myself, like, oh well, I mean, a lot of these old shows. I mean, old meaning, I mean, this is actually a pretty common thing.
Before we
where
were
like
born.
sometimes like the episode orders often all scrambled because of people kind of too many cooks in the kitchen, I suppose.
Yeah.
But no, this was literally because the episode was banned because Michael Jackson.
I'm sure it got like an official release, unless it's just never been released.
It was
like that.
taken off of Disney Plus,
Which means it's lost media.
which I doubt I doubt they if they went that far. I mean, maybe they still play it, on cable TV, but I'd be surprised. I don't know. I mean, it's funny. I guess I don't keep in touch with it too much because I'm not really the most streaming service dependent person. I'll leave it at that. But I just remember like Nathan Fielder in the rehearsal talking about having certain episodes of Nathan For You taken down
Yes.
From Paramount and stuff like that. It's kind of a shame, I think it's I
Yeah,
don't know.
but
Especially
I
for
also
stuff
think
that isn't really explicitly hateful.
yeah,
I don't know.
I also think that there are people who get excited about the prospect of lost media that believe anything that isn't accessible via streaming is just lost. Like there's simply
yeah.
no way to access it. And this happened recently when I was working through the Halloween episodes. There's I was going off of multiple historical records of like what aired in October, and then like a wiki where people put what they think are Halloween episodes. I tried to basically make a reservoir for all of the historical or all of what people deem as Halloween episodes. And there's a Snorks Halloween episode, and Snorks is nowhere on streaming or the Internet Archive. But the episode exists on like the season 3 Hanna-Barbera DVD. So it's not lost media, but it's just really a matter of like, do I want to buy the Snork season 3 DVD so I can rip this episode? Like, they're more often than not, they're not fully lost. They're just on something that people don't necessarily want to get, but that doesn't mean they're lost. I think a lot of people kind of don't include proper DVD releases when they talk about what is and isn't lost. Because like you do have access to them.
A lot of the DVD releases are out of syndication. They're not being made anymore. Yeah. And often, especially for less popular shows, there's not enough demand for them to to be bought and resold, that a lot of people will throw them away, or you can't really go out and seek it because a lot of people just have all these, old tapes and DVDs just in a box somewhere.
Yeah.
Just
literally
rotting or whatever. Yeah, and it's I mean, I guess I kind of understand it from that perspective, in that, if you don't make a conscious effort to preserve certain things, you're going to lose it. But I don't know.
So between episodes of Switch to Ultra, the reason it's taken me so long to get through all of a Donkey Kong Bonanza and not be spoiled about it, which I think I have been, I'm constantly pretending like I didn't see it. Like whenever I scroll and see a spoiler, I'm like, no, that's not real. That's fan art. That guy's not there. And also I wanted to collect everything in the game, so I'm going it at a snail's pace. And then I want to play all the Switch 2 exclusives, which I have been doing, and doing all the major releases. So sometimes I take a break to play something else. I think this upcoming Thursday, which is the day I normally reserve for playing the Switch 2, depending on what I play on, and I just want to play the Switch 2, is when Silk Song releases, like finally Hollow Knight Silk Song releases. So I think I'm going to play that on Thursday. So it'll be a handful of weeks before I finish Bonanza. Hopefully it'll be before the next major Nintendo Switch release. But the reason I didn't make any progress between episodes is because I dedicated last Thursday, right before the weekend before this episode of Switch 2 Ultra, to playing Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition, plus Starcross World. And I forgot how much I really liked Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Like, I don't think I had anything disparaging to say about the game, but I think when we talked about it last time, I'm like, yeah, it's only really good in the boss fights. But the more and more I was playing it, because it gets you to revisit older levels. And the DLC, from what I played, I only got 3 hours in it, and that was only that was like 3 levels, because I was trying to get all of the... I don't like moving on to a different level until I collect everything in the previous level, which is why I go at everything very, very slowly. But I've seen a lot of stuff about it that I kind of want to keep playing it, where my idea before was just to drop it and go back to Bonanza. So there's a lot going on. However, this is a week after we dedicated an entire episode of Switch 2 Ultra to speculating and analyzing the Direct of Kirby Air Riders. And that's another thing I didn't bring up when we were discussing a September Direct, is a September Direct to announce a bunch of stuff is really fun, but I don't hate that every major game gets its own dedicated Direct. Like, I didn't care much for the Mario Kart Direct. It didn't tell us a whole lot of new stuff. And the Bonanza Direct, I didn't want to get spoiled. But if each major Nintendo release gets its own, like, 30 to 40 minute Direct, I think that's actually pretty okay. It might be the thing they lean more towards going forward.
I think that's not a bad idea, especially because I think I'm sure I'm not the only one who's noticed this. Occasionally, what they used to do is they would siphon off a good like 7 or 8 minutes to one game during the Direct, and people would get pissed.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, like, they like spent that much time talking about Xenoblade 2, and it's just the features in the game. Like, oh, you can collect blades, and even I was kind of like not caring that much, and I love that game. It's just it's like, ooh,
yeah,
we have a menu in our game. You can get extra lives in our game. It's like,
that's something I'm sort of like the pendulum swinging back the other way with this show. That when I was a kid, every new game I would immediately look up a walkthrough, or I wanted to know everything about it, even before I played the game. So then I overcorrected when I was a teenager and young adult to going into everything as blind as possible. I didn't want to know anything, and that's why it took me a while to get through a lot of games. Whereas now, with this show, because I want to cover all of the interesting bits of information, like previously for a Pokemon game, if I thought there were accurate leaks, I would purposefully avoid them. Like, no, I want it all to be a surprise. And I did that with Scarlet and Violet. But now, I think understanding a little bit more, it's fun to speculate. And that's really what the show is about, at least before a new Smash game comes out. But that was always fun because it just stages and characters. It doesn't really get in the way of the gameplay. That something like a Pikmin 4 Direct, even though I had just gotten into the Pikmin series, I didn't want to watch because I didn't want to know anything about Pikmin 4 before I played it. Whereas now I'm probably more likely to watch it just so we have stuff to talk about here, and that way we can cover it from a historical standpoint. But before the previous installment of Switch to Ultra, I said it's going to be a very Kirby-centric episode because I want to talk about Kirby lore ahead of Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Because if you don't know, Kirby lore is actually not complicated, but pretty comprehensive. It's less that it's complicated and more that it's all important. It's like Kingdom Hearts, where you'd think only the main games are the lore ones, but no, all of them have important information. It's just a matter of understanding, and it's all hidden within menus. So that's what I want to go over here today. Because the previous week, I didn't realize how long the Kirby Air Riders Direct was going to be, and how much I had to say about it. So I saved it for after playing Starcross World, the DLC, for only 3 hours. Because I'm going to keep playing it more and more, and I haven't completed it. So there was really no reason to talk about the lore beforehand, because we're going to get more and more reveals. I think we talked about this last time, but you are, at best, a sort of Kirby fan. Like, you've played some Kirby games, right?
I've played the games. I've never disliked them, but I've always been kind of, I don't know, wanting to be more into it than I actually am. I've always kind of struggled to really feel that strongly about Kirby.
Well, this is perfect then. Because my timeline was, seeing them in Smash Bros. Brawl, then getting Superstar Ultra. And then most of the games I played after that, like the Rainbow Curse and Epic Yarn, were just spin-off games. They weren't really as... Well, one, they're not... I want to say they're not canon. They're not lore. They're not important. And then I played Star Allies on the Switch. And I've been trying to play them more and more. I think I've played all the Kirby games that are on the Switch. So I can go through just the entirety of Kirby lore. Of all the research, basically it's mostly memory, mostly research. It's split all across, because last time I didn't have it all dedicated to memory, but I did a lot of research this time, so that way I can use this as a guide for me moving forward. It's like when you're in class and they make you write stuff down, even if you think you already know it. It's because it helps you to remember to actually put forth an effort to write it down. It's the reason.
I hate that that's true. I discovered that in college, and I realized, oh my god, writing notes actually helps.
What's the same thing with these YouTube videos as well, is like, if, like Clone Wars, for example, when I made a video about it, I had tried to watch Clone Wars like 4 different times, and I'm like, I don't care about this. But because I made it my job for a month, it made me actually pay attention because I had to. Whereas before I would put it on, and then I'm like, I'm going to go do something else. So when it becomes, part of Switch to Ultra, now I've done all the research and did what I could to understand. And if there's any more lore reveals, now I will know it off the top of my head. And I will be able to come back to this. So, editor, feel free to, have a low undertone of explanation music. Whatever that may be. So, with most timelines, with most lore, with most anything, we start with the ancients, the nebulous ancients. And this is what we suspect an ancient looks like. Because this is Highness, which is the major antagonist of Kirby Star Allies for the Nintendo Switch. And this is the only quote-unquote ancient we know what it looks like, but we're not even 100%. It isn't confirmed that Highness is an ancient. It's just highly implied. So we're going to assume this is going to represent all the ancients and also Highness, and we're going to assume this is what the ancients look like. So back in the day, ancients made, I feel like there's a specific word I'm thinking of. Ancients made artifacts. Several artifacts. We don't know why they made them, we just know that they did. Artifacts like the Lore Star Cutter, which is a ship that can travel through space and time and dimensions. They created the Galactic Nova, which can grant wishes. And there are multiple different types of Nova. This is the Star Dream Nova. So they create them, but Nova is a species. There is not only one. For the longest time, we thought there was only one Nova, but there are multiple. Create weapons potentially like the Star Rod, which is fueled by the power of the Fountain of Dreams. So we're going to go through the plots of the games. This is all in the past, right? And now we'll get to the actual timeline. Because I hate whenever you watch a timeline video and they're like, oh, let's go back to the 1800s. No. YouTube chat says ancients are 2 types, by the way. All right, I didn't know that. But I'm glad I'm getting additional notes. I'm just using this to represent the ancients.
Oh, yeah, guys, if you know more than we do, don't hesitate.
If I'm wrong, correct me absolutely. Because then I want to make sure I got this right. Thank you, YouTube chat. All right. Going with individual stories. These are not the order the stories happen, but I think they're the best way to explain things. So this lure star cutter is powered by this guy named Magalore. Now, I'm sure you've seen Magalore before. He went to the classic Star 4, I'm just going to call them that, of our heroes, and said, please, join the lore star cutter and me. We're going to go through different spaces and different universes. I need the Master Crown. There's a monster who stole the Master Crown, and he's going to kill all of us. So, our heroes help Magalore get the Master Crown, and then it's revealed, by the way, spoilers for all of Kirby, it's revealed, and we're going to be saying this a lot, that Magalore is actually not a nice guy and not to be trusted. Let me lower this down so I'm not covering anything with my big-ass head. And Magalore becomes this boss Magalore. He combines with the crown and becomes a monster. Now, what's interesting about Kirby lore is, unlike something like Pokemon or Zelda, there are not split timelines. There are, however, what-if scenarios. There are what-if scenarios of questionable canonicity. So, if you've played a Kirby game, you know that there is a post-game called the Arena or the True Arena where you fight a bunch of boss fights. That, to the story of Kirby, did not literally happen, but it has the possibility to happen, if that makes sense. There are multiple what-if scenarios in Kirby, and they will be marked with this yellow glow. So this here, Magalore's Soul, which is the version of the boss fight you fight in the, I don't know if it's the True Arena. Real quick, YouTube is saying, Science Ancients and Magic Ancients. Some artifacts are made with science, such as Novas and Lore Star Cutter. Others are made with magic, like the Star Rod and the Master Crown. Highness is magic. And this is what the Master Crown here is. All right, thank you. This I appreciate that. We're putting it together now. So the reason this is glowing yellow, Magalore's Soul, and that word soul is going to be important. So you want to remember that. That's something that happens in Kirby characters a lot. This soul version of Magalore is the boss in the what-if mode in Return to Dreamland, both the Wii and the remake. However, something that is, I'm going to scroll down here, something that is exclusive to the remake is the post-game where you play as Magalore after the events of Return to Dreamland, where this version of Magalore isn't called anything, but I call it Soulless Magalore, because all the color has been drained from him. So while Magalore's soul, which is the soul of it overcoming the body and just taking over, is not canon and did not happen to Kirby and friends, the existence of this version of Magalore sort of implies that it could have happened or likely did happen. So we're setting up very early things as far as Kirby goes. This butterfly right here has appeared throughout multiple Kirby games. More often than not, there are theories whether or not this character, this butterfly, showed up in the early Game Boy Kirby games, but those games weren't in color, so it's possible that it was just a different butterfly, not this guy. This butterfly mainly marks the era of games after Sakurai left HAL. So it does not appear in those earlier games, in those Dark Matter games. It actually started appearing, the reason I'm showing it now is because it began appearing in all the Kirby games in the background or hanging around the Kirby gang with Return to Dreamland Wii onward. Twitch chat says that butterfly is fucking Satan. Well, hold on. This is Planet Popstar. This is where Kirby and friends reside. Planet Popstar exists within Dreamland. I just thought I should set that up.
Wait, well, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Dreamland they're returning to is Dreamland, and that's where Popstar is.
Like
Highness here.
I think
one
that's
of
like
the
a Frankenstein is the name of the doctor, not the monster kind of situation.
yeah, it's where the
Like,
that's the thing is
planet is part of the land.
the title Return to Dreamland. They've been in Dreamland. It's just called that because there hadn't been a Kirby, like a mainline Kirby game in a while. So them returning to Dreamland is us returning to Dreamland. Like they live there all the time. Return to Dreamland as a title implies that we as the player are returning there. So Highness, who we brought up earlier, is one of the magic ancients. Thank you, YouTube chat. Isn't Dreamland a region of Popstar? It's possible. I could have gotten misinformation.
Oh, okay, that would make more sense.
Sure, whatever. Dreamland, Popstar, I use them interchangeably. So, Highness uses the Mage Sisters. And what's interesting, and we'll notice here a lot, is when it comes to different Nintendo games, is I don't know if they're like ancient or like legendary Japanese stories that are being retold through these games over and over. Like every time you see a Tanuki, the games aren't referencing Animal Crossing or Mario. It's just a character.
Recurring figure in Japanese mythology and folklore.
Right, so let me know if you've heard these before. The Mage Sisters who work for Highness, the flavor text in their boss fights said that they were either normal girls or sort of magic girls. One got lost at sea, I think. One was stuck in a fire, and one was in a storm. And then they were reincarnated as magical spirits of
the
water.
Red one got lost in the sea.
Of water, lightning, and fire. That's also the story of, if you know, the legendary beast of Entei, Raikou, and Suicune. I don't know if that's an actual legendary story or if it's a weird coincidence. There's going to be multiple weird coincidences. I hope what I just said is correct. I didn't do a lot of research on the Mage Sisters because they really only exist as minions for Highness, and Highness uses them to create the Jamba Heart. So the Jamba Heart is a collection of multiple dark hearts, which the story of Kirby Star Allies is that the pieces of the Jamba Heart are invading Dreamland, Popstar, whatever, and making Kirby's friends and past enemies more evil, so he has to fight them. In the game, we're collecting the Dark Hearts to try and bring them back to Highness, but like Magolor, surprise, surprise, Kirby is betrayed again. Highness uses the Jamba Heart to summon a huge monster, huge world, universe-destroying monster, final boss of the game. This is Void Termina. And Void Termina, that boss fight it's a lot more massive. The scaling here is off. I had to fit a lot on the screen. But Void Termina is huge. And Kirby needs to use the power of the positive hearts to try and defeat him. But the thing about Kirby bosses is a lot of them have multiple phases. If not all of them have multiple phases. So when you defeat the initial version of Void Termina, it turns into this. Just Void. Which you'll notice is a circle with eyes. However, the reason it became Void Termina is because Void was summoned using the Jamba Heart and negative energy. So Void is, depending on who you ask, either the source of all matter in this world or a source of good or evil. Void is neutral. It depends on whether it's sort of like a chow. Either you raise it with love or raise it with hate, or it develops love or hate, and it becomes either a source of pure evil or a source of pure good. And this is later implied because Void is a circle like this. That's potentially where Kirby comes from. And now we meet our protagonist, Kirby. And Kirby is just a little baby. He has been for multiple years now. He's still a baby, depending on if you believe the anime or the instruction manual or not. It's just a little guy. That 137-year-old who looks 17. So, in the flavor text of Star Allies, it is sort of implied that Void can become, like I said, good or evil, and Kirby also came from Void. This is something that comes to the universe, Popstar Dreamland, every now and then, and can either be a source of good or evil. It is never outright said what Kirby is or is made of, but a similarity we see between Void Termina and Kirby is they can both inhale enemies or friends to gain their power, and we see Void Termina use the power of water, electricity, and fire in this boss fight because Highness uses the bodies of these three to finish off the Jamba Heart to summon Void Termina. So that's the main thing you need to know, is that this Void really ties everything together and could be either a source of good or evil. And Kirby potentially started out as a Void, or could evolve into Void Termina. So it really depends on which interpretation you believe, either that be a huge monster, god killer, universe destroyer like Void Termina. And that's where all the jokes come from of Kirby being like an absolute god. YouTube chat says, I think a big hint is also that the Void battle in the hardest boss rush is literally green greens, but sad. Oh yeah, that's the theme in the background. Okay. Telling another story of Kirby games. So we just heard about the lore Star Cutter, other artifacts they made. This here is the Galactic Nova. So in Kirby Superstar and Kirby Superstar Ultra, in Milky Way Wishes, a friend of Kirby named Marks comes to Kirby. I didn't notice how much he's blending it with the background. Came to Kirby and said, hey, the sun and the moon are fighting. We really need to collect the pieces of Galactic Nova and make a wish to save Popstar, to save Dreamland. In actuality, Marks just wanted power and made the Sun and Moon fight and then hit Kirby out of the way last minute. Kirby has now been betrayed a third time in this timeline. Of course, not in order, but just in general. And Marks wishes for absolute power, where he turns into this monstrosity. This is the boss battle Marks, still under the same name. However, like a lot of other Kirby games, in the original Kirby Superstar, when you defeat this Marks boss fight, he explodes. He splits in half, he goes away, and we don't see him. In Kirby Superstar Ultra, in another one of those what-if scenarios, the true arena, he returns as Marks' soul. Now, something that's interesting is the two glowing characters that are from the true arenas or the arena modes that are post-game are both named Soul. This is Magalore Soul, and this is Mark's Soul. It's interesting that they use that same naming idea. Now, Kirby Star Allies, which although it tells us a lot of early lore, is set way after all the other games. And the idea, so that is the story of Galactic Nova, and thus Marks. Now, another what-if scenario. Something about Kirby Superstar Ultra is it has multiple different game modes. It sort of tells multiple stories. Some are canon with an asterisk, some are just what-if scenarios. There is another what-if scenario, since we know that Galactic Nova leaves once it grants a wish, where you play as this guy, Meta Knight, and do all of the Kirby stories. It's called Meta Nightmare Ultra, where you play through the Kirby stories of Superstar Ultra, but as Meta Knight. Now, I've been focusing on all the lore that's, like, important or very secretive, but there's something I didn't mention, or something I hadn't planned out ahead of time, is what Meta Knight is, and we really don't know.
I was gonna ask.
We really don't know what the Knights are classified as, but there are multiple fights throughout multiple Kirby games where when you defeat Meta Knight, his mask comes off and breaks, and he's got the same face as Kirby, but inverted. However, he seems less powerful than Kirby. So is it possible that if Kirby comes from Void, could Meta Knight also come from Void? And if that's the case, why is Meta Knight sort of a betweener? Why is he both good and bad depending? Meta Knight isn't inherently evil, he's just constantly trying to stop Kirby from destroying his ship, the Halberd, or he's worried about Kirby's irresponsibility when it comes to Dreamland. So, when Meta Knight goes through the Milky Way wishes, he is actually granted the wish by Galactic Nova instead of Marks. And he wishes to fight the greatest warrior in the galaxy. And this is where Galactonite summons a warrior from somewhere in time, either the future, the past, or the present, that has been sealed away by someone. And that is Galactonite. So, what's interesting here is that Highness, which may or may not be a magical ancient, uses the Jamba Heart to summon and thus free Void Termina. Void Termina and Galactonite have both been locked away, somewhere outside of time. And Highness summons Void Termina, Meta Knight makes a wish on Galactic Nova, who can do anything, and summons Galactonite. We don't know who sealed them away, it's implied to be the Ancients. And we don't know why, although Galactonite is very powerful. So Meta Knight makes a wish, and it summons Galactonite. Now, Galactonite is not draped in this yellow glow because he will actually come back canonically later. But as far as Superstar Ultra goes, this is just a what-if scenario boss fight. Also, when I'm saying, oh, it's a what-if scenario, it's not canon, when people quote that, they're referring to a Miiverse post translated from Japanese from the director of Robobot, I think, who said that arena specifically is a what-if scenario. He didn't say outright that every arena is a what-if scenario. He just said that one. But it's still safe to believe that they may or may not have happened. What's interesting about the fight with Galactonite, who you may notice seems mighty similar to Meta Knight, and who is mighty similar to Kirby in Twain. I mean, he's an alternate skin for Meta Knight in Smash Bros. We don't know a whole lot about Galactonite other than being sealed away. However, within the fight, he can summon the Meta Knights. So the Meta Knights are not to be confused with Meta Knight. They work for him, and they are the staff of the Halberd, but they are Meta-Knights. Meta Knight is 2 words. These are different people, although he is the leader of the Meta Knights. It's interesting that Galactonite can summon them. But also, in another Galactonite fight, he can separate his light and dark version, which seemingly is not something Meta Knight can do. We see the introduction of Dark Meta Knight when Meta Knight tries to destroy this dimensional mirror. There are multiple mirrors. I believe it's the same one. Correct me if I'm wrong. Meta Knight tries to destroy this mirror. So a lot like the Novas, this could also have been created by the Ancients. We don't know. The Ancients really tie it all together. They made artifacts, both scientific and magic, and they sealed away these 2 warriors because they were dangerous. The dimensional mirror can grant the wishes of whoever looks into it, and it reflects those wishes. However, it has been corrupted by Dark Mind, and that is why when Meta Knight tries to seal it away or destroy it, we see Dark Meta Knight within the mirror. Chat is saying that breaking a mirror is bad. Maybe that's why it happened. Maybe that's what makes Dark Meta Knight dark. But what's interesting about this game, which is Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, is that Dark Meta Knight splits Kirby into 4 distinct colors. 4 individual characters, which is pink, green, red, and yellow. This actually isn't that important to the lore. However, I wanted to mention it because this is sort of a companion piece to talking about Kirby Air Riders. And it's interesting to categorize green, yellow, and red Kirby as different characters. We know that internally, although it isn't official, yellow Kirby is referred to as Kirby. This is because, as I'm sure you know, in the original Kirby game, which was the Game Boy game, the game was in black and white, and they didn't know what color Kirby was going to be, which is why on the box art he is just a white ghost. Famously, Masahiro Sakurai wanted Kirby to be pink, and Shigeru Miyamoto wanted Kirby to be yellow. So that's why yellow Kirby, when there's multiple different colored Kirbys, is treated as the second player and is named Kirby by both the fans and the developers, even though it's not an official name within the game. What's interesting about separating these different Kirbys from the Kirby when he is trapped inside the dimensional mirror is Meta Knight's dark version, Dark Meta Knight, is far more malicious and evil. However, Shadow Kirby, this is the newest version of Shadow Kirby, is the sprite that always reminds me of Dorkly, which is summoned by Dark Mind and thus Dark Meta Knight, is sort of neutral. Like, even though this is supposed to be the evil Kirby, the Shadow Kirby, he doesn't seem to attack. He's only, like, hurt when provoked, and he runs away more often than not. Shadow Kirby doesn't do a whole lot, which is interesting. Now, this dimensional mirror actually comes back in a later game. Taranza, this little bug guy down here, tries to get the dimensional mirror either as a gift or to revive and return his true love. And he does that by kidnapping the king of Dreamland, supposedly, King DDD. I scroll down here so the YouTube viewers can watch it. King DDD down here is the final boss of the original Kirby game on the Game Boy, and then after the fact, he's sort of more of a rival and a friendly rivalry with Kirby. That's the thing about Meta Knight and King DDD, is the Smash games may lead you to believe that these are like straight up villains or enemies, but they really only have been in the first game of their appearance, and then afterwards they're likely possessed by someone else, and that's where Dark Meta Knight comes from. Now,
deeply optimistic series, all things considered.
Yeah, well, I mean,
even like Magalore can be swayed.
Yeah,
you know?
Marks, they all tried to kill him and destroy the universe. It's like, oh, let's be friends. So King DDD, the reason he is the king of Dreamland or the king of Popstar, maybe just the Dreamland sections of Popstar, is he reigns over the Waddle Dees. And there are multiple different Waddle Dees. Sometimes they have different occupations. Throughout the Sakurai games, it is the main characters are Kirby, our King Dedede, and our Meta Knight. In Kirby 64, there is one Waddle Dee that, for whatever reason, seems a lot more close with King Dedede. He seems to, like, genuinely care about him, and he also adventures with Kirby. However, he looks like a generic Waddle Dee. However, in the games after Sakurai left moving forward, there is this new character, this new Waddle Dee, that dons a bandana. That is close personal friends with King Dedede, basically his second in command, like that of the Meta Knights, but he also wants to be a great warrior like Kirby, and even in individual adventures is the one that teams up with Kirby when King Dedede and Meta Knight are nowhere to be found. So that's where Bandana D comes from. He's not in this game, but Taranza kidnaps King Dedede and also uses the Dimensional Mirror to try and win back his love of Queen Sectonia. She looks like this. Now, in the potential non-canon what-if scenario, it happens again, where in the true arena or the extra bonus boss fights, Soul of Sectonia is the fight you do. So again, this is another glowing what-if boss fight that uses the name Soul. It's not called Sectonia Soul, it's called Soul. You can tell in the art and the way he fights. He's more crazy, whereas Magolor is more predation-focused. He's looming. So it's less about them being corrupted by some kind of soul force and more that their souls are coming out in these boss fights. And that is Queen Sectonia. Now, circling back to these artifacts, this second Nova, this Star Dream Nova, which is created or hunted down by President Haltman, whose ultimate goal in life is to mechanize the world, to create the Star Dream, to make a wish to get his daughter back, because he sent her away to a different universe, to my understanding, to further his goal, and then she went missing. But the more and more he does this and works with Star Dream, who becomes a sentient AI, he loses himself a little bit and doesn't really remember what his daughter is like or looks like. So he creates Star Dream, and once you defeat Star Dream, you could see the Star Dream Nova inside it. However, again, within the what-if scenario, there is a bonus boss fight called Star Dream Soul OS. Another soul boss fight, which sort of implies that even this machine has a soul, or these souls can be created. And Haltman's missing daughter is later revealed to be his secretary that actually aids Kirby throughout the game, and that is Susie. This is Susie Haltman, and her last name is only revealed within the flavor text during her boss fight. So that's where Susie comes from. It doesn't know that they're related. Now, these are multiple lines of multiple different games. Said earlier that they created artifacts either of technology and magic. Although these are clockwork inventions, they work off of magic to grant your wish. The Dimensional Mirror is also mostly magic. The Lore Star Cutter is from space, time, dimensions. This Star Rod is the weapon used against the first major, Eldritch boss fight in the Kirby universe, which is Nightmare. And what's interesting about Nightmare is he has a lot of similarities with Darkmind from the Dimensional Mirror. So it's possible that even Nightmare has an alternate version within the mirror, which is the mirror world. It's possible that every character we see here has an alternate version like that of Dark Meta Knight or Darkmind, some kind of shadow or dark version that all exists within the mirror. There's also a Dark Dedede, but he didn't seem that important to mention. So Nightmare is defeated handily. However, he's the major antagonist of the Kirby anime, which I think was just made very early on with the amount of information they had, so he seems like a huge overarching villain. However, he only really appears that one time, that other time, and in that remake. However, his boss fight tendencies, the way he battles, is very similar to the second game after that, where Kirby uses the Rainbow Sword to fight dark matter. Now, the initial Kirby games, the Game Boy games and Kirby 64, the ones that were directed by Masahiro Sakurai, although I don't think he worked on Kirby 64, they're referred to as the Dark Matter Trilogy. And we talked about this in reference to Kirby Air Riders, where there's the mysterious presence that appears at the end of the boss fight, and he looks like the sword version of Dark Matter. Now, what's interesting in that Game Boy game, and I think this is Return to Dreamland 2, that throughout the game you team up with all these animal friends, which I only bring up because they're reoccurring characters. They're friends with Kirby. You team up with these animal friends to get the Rainbow Sword and fight Dark Matter. So Dark Matter has a sword mode. He even uses the Rainbow Sword himself. But when you defeat that, this goop, for lack of a better term, comes out of Dark Matter and you must fight it. Speaking of goop, within that same game there is a side character named Gooey, who, depending on which version of the game you're playing and the different colors of it on the Game Boy and the instruction manual, it could be another white Kirby, yellow Kirby situation where GUI is entirely dark, is entirely black, like that of Dark Matter. However, in the game after that, and I think Dreamland 3, Kirby uses the Love Stick. So the Star Rod, the Rainbow Sword, and the Love Stick are basically interchangeable. I know lore-wise they're different, but they all serve the same purpose. Uses the Love Stick to defeat Zero, which is what the Dark Matter are spawning from. However, as far as Dark Matter spawning goes, in this game, GUI is actually the secondary playable character, and he gets more and more lighter blue and a little bit more silly throughout the game series. GUI's flavor text in Kirby Star Allies implies that he is made of the... Sorry, my mistake. In the instruction manual of this game, it implies that GUI is, quote, made of the same stuff as Dark Matter. And what's interesting is these are evil spheres, for lack of a better term. So this void that we know is the source of both either good or evil, not only does GUI have a connection to Dark Matter and thus Zero, but it's possible that Kirby also has a connection to GUI or Dark Matter or Zero. So the void could either become Dark Matter and create all this nightmare situation in the early games, or void can grow happy, healthy, and become Kirby. And that's why, as Kirby shows love and friendship to GUI, he becomes more and more of a colorful creature than his original piece of Dark Matter. We don't know how literal that is, we just know that he is, quote, made of the same stuff as Dark Matter. YouTube chat says Sakurai didn't work on the Dark Matter trilogy. It was a different guy by the name Shinichi Shimamura. But those are the early Kirby games. Are you sure? You didn't direct the first Kirby game? Unless it's just Nightmare. Well, that was my understanding at the very least. There are additional pieces of Dark Matter that all fight the same. So, you could either discern characters by the flavor text in the boss fights, or by noticing, like how an RPG will use music to coin you in, that the bosses are similar or related somehow, and that's where a lot of Deltarune theories come from. In Kirby, if they fight a certain way, then you could tell they're related. Like, all of these soul fights all use a certain attack where they turn into a ball, like that of Void or Dark Matter, to coin you in that these are all soul fights. There is Dark Nebula, which uses the same battle techniques as Dark Matter, as Zero, as Nightmare, and is summoned by Daroche by opening up a treasure chest. Daroche isn't really that important. YouTube chat says Sakurai directed Dreamland and Superstar, basically, yeah. Okay, so just the Nightmare game and then Superstar. And Superstar Ultra wasn't directed by him. So Sakurai actually made a lot less than you would think. So there's Daroche. Very important character because he's a rat. I just brought him up because, again, he's another star friend, but he only really appears in that game. He appears in other games. YouTube chat says Sakurai directed Dreamland 1, Superstar, Adventure, Air Ride, and Air Riders. I don't know if there's a whole lot of lore in Air Ride and Air Riders, but I suppose we'll see. Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't want to like discount his contributions, but he actually doesn't he didn't do that much, at least direct supervision of Kirby, all things considered.
He created Kirby, King Dedede, and Meta Knight, and he didn't, and like Krako and Dynablade and all those other bosses, and Wispy Woods. Everything else isn't really him. Well, he did create Marks, which is probably why Marks is in Smash Bros. As a boss fight.
This is low-key gonna get me in trouble, but it's kind of like Lauren Faust with MLP FIM, where like she kind of made the basic characters, but I feel like the show got better after she left. Or I don't want to say that about Sakurai, but it's kind of like so much of the identity of the show comes from people who took over after she had left, because she left before season 2 ended. So
that's why I can understand the concern going into something like Kirby Air Riders is like, oh, it's a Kirby game directed by Sakurai. If you're a dedicated Kirby fan, then there's all this here. However, what we saw from Air Riders is that Suzy is a playable character, Magolor is playable, Meta Knight has a Galactonite and a Dark Meta Knight skin. GUI's in there, and GUI's special. He uses the power of Dark Matter. There's little bits in there. He's at least referencing it. And now we're getting towards the end times. Now, it's not impossible to gain influence from the fandom, from the fan base. That's where the term Kirby comes from to begin with anyway. YouTube chat says Kirby is better without him, IMO. Ooh, very strong opinions from the
Yeah,
YouTube chat.
I don't want to like push an opinion one way or the other just because I mean I don't think I'm experienced enough, but it's just kind of an interesting scenario where sometimes like someone's considered like the godfather of a character or a franchise,
it's like
although
Miyamoto.
it's technically true. It's like there's a discussion to be had about where a lot of the identity or the Kirby we know today comes from. That's the only thing.
I mean, granted, my favorite game
Sakurai
is Superstar Ultra, which is a remake of a game he directed, but he had nothing to do with the remake, at least to my understanding. So there was an art book not too long ago to celebrate the anniversary where there were a lot of beta designs of Meta Knight, or a lot of early designs of what they wanted him to look like. And there was one more red butterfly one that both the fan base really liked and the developers of the game really liked, and they're like, we should put him in this game. And they eventually did. So this butterfly that has been in the background of most of the games over on this right side, slinking into the background. The reason Galactonite is not glowing yellow right now is because he actually appears at the end of Kirby Star Allies. Once you defeat Void Termina and Void, the credits start rolling, and then records scratch, and they roll backwards, and Galactonite shows up. Now, previously, Meta Knight summoned Galactonite by wishing on Galactic Nova to fight the greatest warrior in the galaxy. It's possible that when Highness used the Jamba Heart to free Void Termina, he also freed Galactonite, or we know that Galactonite is from somewhere in time, so it's possible him being sealed away before he would go back in time to fight Meta Knight hasn't happened yet. Regardless, Galactonite shows up, and then this butterfly floats in, lands on his lance, and it transforms. It dissolves him. It turns Galactonite into Morpho Knight. Now, that is the last time we canonically saw Galactonite, and technically the first time we canonically saw Galactonite. So it's entirely possible that Galactonite is just dead now, and this butterfly has taken him over, has absorbed him. Because after the fight, the butterfly gets away, but we don't see Galactonite. So this is Morpho Knight, not to be confused or meta. We have seen Susie be Kirby's friend and say, oh, you need to help me do this, and then be revealed to be a boss fight. Marks say, you need to help me make this wish, and then be revealed to be evil. Magalore, Highness, this happens over and over again. So me and a lot of people, the second we saw Elfalin, we thought, oh, that guy's gonna betray Kirby for sure. Like that, it's over. Sorry, YouTube chat is giving me a correction here that says Galactonite never appeared canonically, actually. It's in the what-if mode. So maybe if you defeat Void Termina and thus Void in the what-if mode, that's when Galactonite spawns. Regardless, I'm going to leave it as is because we know Morpho Knight. Actually, you know what? Let's make that glow. Because you're right, there could be different versions of Morpho Knight then. Or the only canonical appearance of Morpho Knight. And Morpho Knight isn't glowing, and I'll get into why that is. I appreciate the correction. So everyone thought Elflin was going to be evil, and there's huge mysteries about the Forgotten Land. However, it's revealed at the end of the game that Elflin is actually a piece of Fecto Forgo. Or rather, they together are the sum of their piece, which is the Fecto Elphalis when they combine. But Fecto Forgo is when they are separated. So the denizens of the Forgotten Land were warned about an evil meteorite that would destroy their world. Twitch chat right now says, is it confirmed there are multiple Morpho Knights in Forgotten Land? So yeah. Or sorry, it is confirmed. Okay. Well, that is a scary thought then. Anyway, the denizens of the Forgotten Land could be the Ancients or could be something else that we'll get into in a second. Used potentially a ship reminiscent of the Lore Starcutter to escape what used to be the Forgotten Land, or what then later became the Forgotten Land, using Fecto Elphalis, and then they escaped that world and left him trapped inside a test tube inside a lab. However, he absorbs the power of multiple enemies and multiple guys and becomes a huge globby mass. When he absorbs Elphalis, he becomes Fecto Elphalis, which is the alien that came to the Forgotten Land to warn them about the meteor. What's interesting about that, and gives implications about the different soul fights, is there are two post-games, or rather multiple post-games, in Kirby and the Forgotten Land. One of them is the arena where you fight multiple what-if bosses. One of them is a canon story where one of the leader of the Beast Pack. I'll just show the Beast Pack now. This is Leon Gar and this is Clawreline. There are multiple members of the Beast Pack. Some believe that these furry Madagascar characters, shout out my good friend Switchy, by the way, exist because they were the people who lived in the Forgotten Land and then a bunch of people abandoned. However, I believe that they were more human-like entities or ancients, and the reason the Beast Pack are sentient like this is because everything is overgrown in the Forgotten Land, and these animals became more intelligent and took over. So, Fecto-Elphalis, or rather, when it's Fecto-Forgo, combines with Leon Gar and then becomes Fecto-Elphalis later when it lets him go. That's why they've been brainwashed, and that's why DDD joins the Beast Gang, or the Beast Pack, in that game, and is tricked. The thing is, in this post-game mode that is canon, Clawreline goes to Kirby and she's like, hey, the soul of Fecto-Elphalis, or Fecto-Forgo, which removed itself from the body at death. Interesting use of the word soul, has kidnapped Leon Gar and taken him to a different universe. This is canon. This happens. And when you go to rescue him, you see this little tagline, this boss fight, Soul Forgo. The use of the word soul is really interesting because this is, I believe, to my understanding, the first canonical appearance of a soul fighter. This could give us additional information about the soul of Sectonia, about Mark's soul, about Stardream's soul OS, about Magalore's soul. But what happens in this post-game, actually, is that we think we're going to fight Soul Forgo, but then right before he can attack us, this same butterfly flies in through the window, lands on his ear, and transforms into Morpho Knight. The reason Morpho Knight is not glowing is because this post-game is canon, meaning that Morpho Knight exists within the canon of Kirby, and this butterfly was always meant to be Galactonite. So if there's ever a what-if or arena mode later where the butterfly is there, that's not the canon one. The canon one is this post-game where it combines with Soul Forgo, becomes Morpho Knight. Kirby defeats Morpho Knight, and then in the post-game What If Arena, there is a boss fight not called Soul Elphalis or Elphalis Soul, it's called Chaos Elphalis. And you can see it uses the color schemes of Morpho Knight. After they unfused, still has little remnants of Morpho Knight. And Elphalin has nothing to do with this, so I think it could just use remnants of its previous incarnation ability. And that takes us to the DLC, or what I've played of the DLC so far, where the warning that the denizens of the Forgotten Land got to escape the Forgotten Land comes to pass, and the evil meteorite becomes crashing in to the Forgotten Land, which is this. Like I said, a cityscape, almost looking like a cityscape we're familiar with, which is overgrown with brush, with trees, which is why I believe the animals took over. And this meteorite didn't crash in to the Forgotten Land and destroy it because it was sealed. And more on that in a second. I wanted to get to one final game that I didn't mention the characters from yet, that I think is sort of a linchpin to understanding the Forgotten Land. Is we see a world, an industrial world, that has been escaped. Now, like I said, some believe that the people who escaped the Forgotten Land were magical ancients or sentient bipedal animals. However, we see something reminiscent of this world in Kirby 64 with Shiverstar. There is an ice planet in that game that Kirby and co can go to that is shaped and continental set up exactly like Earth, except frozen over. And the reason this is under this President Haltman line is because this world has been industrialized and abandoned. Potentially by President Haltman or someone with the same business acumen, or it's something similar to the people who left the Forgotten Land. Because we've seen a lot of different creatures and stuff made of dark matter, stuff made of souls, stuff made of dreams, stuff made of nightmares, magic, science, so on and so forth. However, there's one character that really interestingly stands out that is actually in Kirby 64, the same game where this frozen Earth appears, and that's Adeline, who has a magic paintbrush and a lot of painting abilities and also the companion ribbon, but is seemingly human. Like, they never use the word human, but Adeline looks human. Like, this is what a human would look like in the Kirby universe. We don't see any other humans, but we see worlds that are very clearly reminiscent of humans that have been abandoned. So it's my understanding, or rather my belief, that the people who industrialized Shiverstar and the people who abandoned the Forgotten Land could have been a race of humans that left behind one child in space, in the stars. And there's one reveal, or rather the reveal I've gotten to in the Forgotten Land so far, that sort of ties it all together. Because like I said, there are additional collectibles you can get in the Starcross world that give you little lore snippets and flavor text about the characters. However, there are also new characters that are introduced in the Starcross world, and that are these guys. Starry. I'm going to put it right here to just finish off this score. Looking like Lumas from Mario. Again, a lot of convergent thinking. But the reason this evil meteorite does not destroy the Forgotten Land when it crash lands is because several of these species, the Starry, froze the evil meteorite, sealed it away in crystals in the sky, in space, before it crashed down. And I believe, and several others believe, that it's possible that the Starries are either related to the Ancients, they are the Ancients, they were created by the Ancients, they lived convergently, and they were the ones that sealed away the Jambahart, that sealed away Void Termina, and potentially sealed away Galactonite. And this is as far as I've gotten in the Kirby and the Forgotten Land DLC, and the Starries, the new characters they introduced. This is all I have so far. If I get additional information on that by playing the game, if I continue to play the game, if you guys are going to get a full shot of this. Actually, let me zoom out a little bit. I know it's already kind of hard to see a lot of it when I get that in there. That is the Kirby lore, at least to my understanding. Do you have any questions?
Fuck, I don't know. Shit, it's really... Is there a lot of text in these games? I don't remember there being that much text.
That's the thing, is it gets like jokingly compared to Elden Ring or Dark Souls, but I do think it shares a lot of similarities, that there are like dialogue between characters, but from, I believe, the Wii game onward, every boss fight in these games, you can hit the pause button and then scroll to a profile of the boss you're fighting, and they all have different descriptions and flavor text. And then in a game like the Forgotten Land, there's a gacha mechanic where you can spend coins you gain in the game to unlock little gacha figures of all of the enemies, all of the structures, all of the boss fights, and they have additional information in them. So there's a lot of text. See, that's what, because when I'm playing a Kirby game, I don't stop to go read the text. Twitch chat real quick says the Forgotten Land inhabitants are most likely the Science Ancients, which most likely resemble humans, yeah. All right, well, that's all I got. I didn't really prepare, like, additional... If you have a question and I don't know the answer, I'm just going to go, I don't know. This is the extent.
Well, I will say, I was a little, I don't want to say I was, like, overtly skeptical. I think that's a little bit too harsh. But I was kind of going into this with a little bit of cynicism, like, oh, great, yeah, Kirby lore. Yeah. But I'll say this is kind of this was definitely, I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. And now I never have to do this research again.
Kind of like, I don't want to say cosmic horror because it's not horror, but there's a lot of really heady kind of concepts, and I don't know. There's a lot of it's definitely inspired. I don't know if it's I mean, it's not super nerdy and thought through in the way that you might find in like Xenosaga or whatever. But it's pretty fun. I think it's definitely a fun thing to kind of sink your teeth in.
Well, whenever there's a new Xenoblade game, you could do one of these and explain Xenoblade to me, so that way I'll be caught up.
I almost don't want to, because I'm the kind of person that, like, it kind of hurts my soul to spoil things like that to other people.
Interesting.
Because I mean, at this point, like, a lot of the Xeno canon is getting like really kind of you could have a lot of fun trying to explain it to someone who like has no idea anything about the series, but doing that also kind of trivializes what I think is my favorite, like one of my favorite gaming franchises ever. So I'd be kind of conflicted about doing that, because I could totally make a really fun, like, the entirety of Xenoblade explained,
right? But
I don't know if I'd want to,
For those of you who were watching my videos way back in the day, which is nobody here, this is... Oh, hello? Okay, I'm back. This is sort of a spiritual continuation of the show Poorly Explained we used to do on the channel in like 2019, 2020. Found a way to finally revive one of the most important series. As far as like Xenoblade spoilers go, I feel like I've been spoiled on some of it because of Smash Bros.
There's probably something in Shulk's Final Smash that's spoiled, and I still think that is a really good plot twist that they kind of trivialize.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's a very special part of the game's story. That I don't know. There's a fun parallel there. I was kind of bummed when it was shown off as his Final Smash, but I mean, there's a lot more to all the crazy Xenoblade stuff.
Yeah.
I forget. It's been years since I saw it. I remember, I think Video Game Donkey once made a video where he like explained Kingdom Hearts, the lore, really fast, but it was like all accurate, just kind of a bit haphazard.
Right.
And the idea of doing a Xenoblade video like that would be funny, but I just kind of wouldn't like doing that. It's like,
Yeah.
oh man, but I wouldn't want someone to like watch that and then think they shouldn't play the games. I don't know. But now I feel like someone's gonna do it, and then they're gonna get a lot of views, and I'm gonna be really bitter.
I kind of do want to talk about Kirby. I feel like I haven't done it in a substantial stance, and I'm getting like the thing is doing all this research today, and then doing the research on Air Riders last week, and that game's coming out. I'm like getting re-excited for Kirby now. It makes me want to play the rest of the Forgotten Land DLC. And now I have.
Yeah, actually, I'm kind of motivated to like try some of the games out now, especially because they're short. It's not like I'm signing up for a 40-hour game,
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about Kirby is that a lot of this you could miss not only because it's flavor text, but also a lot of it is post-game stuff. Like you don't need to do it necessarily. It's interesting you bring up Kingdom Hearts. I specifically left out like the lore of spin-offs because I'm like, oh, that's not really important. However, I think in the Amazing Mirror that takes place within the mirror, the mirror dimension, there's a Master Hand and Crazy Hand boss fight. And obviously Samus
really?
shows up in one of the early
Yeah,
Kirby
I know Samus
games.
shows up.
And in Smash Bros, Kirby can, he gains the copy ability of every fighter in that game. But when he inhales Sora, he uses a fake recreation of the Keyblade because I suppose he's not worthy to be a Keyblade wielder. Even though he's like a source of pure good, he could use the Monado though. I know that's got like
I know. Like Tetsuya Takahashi just wait, no, am I like mixing up the Japanese guys? The guy who wrote the Xeno games. I'm pretty sure it's. Am I just? No, I mean I gotta search that up. I don't want to like.
Well, what we learned from this lore is that Sakurai didn't do any of this. He set up the Galactic Nova. He created Meta Knight and the Meta Knights. And I guess technically must have drawn up Morpho Knight as well if that was the original design for Meta Knight. So yeah, now I think the Knights in general are my favorite part. I think they're really cool.
Okay, cool. It is Takahashi, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, like, but he's like, yeah, sure, give Kirby the Monado. I don't give a fuck. Which is just kind of
just Smash
I kind
Bros.
of vibe with that.
Nothing that happens in Smash Bros is canon, unless it's canon to Kirby. And that's what I'm interested about the whether
actually,
or not
there's an argument that Kirby there's a better argument that Kirby should be able to wield the Keyblade than the Monado, all things considered.
Yeah,
like
is more or less pure good. There's a lot there. I was gonna say I'm questioning how canon or important Kirby Air Riders is going to be because nothing expressly happens in Air Ride that's like, no, that can't be. Twitch chat says, I think what's also interesting is that the lore is basically one of the last things they create for the game. Yeah, that is fun. Well, it's all post-game material. Now I just want to play Kirby. So I hope that I retain all this information and remember all of it. Maybe we'll do one of these ahead of Legend ZA because I know there's a lot of Kalos stuff and a lot of the Pokemon lore.
That's actually a good idea because like whenever occasionally I've like read up on Bulbapedia on like shit that happened on X and Y, and I think when did that happen?
Yeah.
Like, what is this? What is this ultimate weapon shit?
That's the thing. Like the most important like lore in the Pokemon series is sort of set up within X and Y. Like that's one of the most important moments in it.
One of the things I will say about Pokemon, and this is a criticism, I'll say it. The TLDR of the stories in the games is like way better than the story in the games itself.
I've always said that I don't think it's the story that literally like is set in that game. I most people's fondest Pokemon memories are not reading a piece of dialogue they really like. It's probably an adventure they had in their head or a moment that really stuck out to them.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right, but I'm just like thinking to myself, like even like, well, okay, so I'll say for example, there's a lot of cool lore, quote unquote, about terrestrialization, but I don't remember the game. But I have like very little memory about the specifics covered in the game itself. Like the game itself, the dialogue between characters like isn't really all that, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't think I'm actually that unique in saying that, but it's kind of a kid's game.
Kirby Air Rider should add Sora. He was number percent for the Kirby Air Riders ballot. No, they're gonna put Cat Mario in there. Did the chat disappear or did they delete it? All right, well, whatever. That's the extent of everything I wanted to go over today. I really don't know what we're going to talk about next week. Maybe we'll have additional information. I mean, Damon X Machina 2, Damon X Machina : Titanic Scion. I wrote that down after the first Direct. Is that still coming out or has that been delayed? Like, I have to actually check right now.
Let me see.
Yeah, it's set to be released September 5th, 2025, but I'm probably just going to play Silk Song instead for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not a Switch 2 exclusive, and I never really played Hollow Knight substantially, but it's one of those games that has been in development for so long. I deleted it. Well, don't worry, I read it live, loud, out loud. You're getting your chats read out loud. Also, maybe a new Mega. If not, we'll just make up random stuff to talk about next time. But there could be a Direct after next episode. But
it's like, guys, Mario, Son Mario and Father Mario were just announced for Pokemon X. What was the game called? ZA. I forgot what the game was called for a split second.
Who cares? No, they're gonna release Galaxy 3 and Sunshine Remastered. Remember?
On the DS, Super Mario Galaxy DS.
Right. They're gonna do a big re-release. Well, that's the extent I want to know to talk about. Is there any other thing you want to cover?
Xbox 720 today. No, I'm good, man. We're good.
All right. Well, I have been your co-host, BH Ultra.
And I have been your co-parent, Switchy.
I'm going to start work on a wholly new video at the end of September, and you are currently working on the Pocketail video, correct?
Yep.
No, I actually scrapped it. It's over. I'm starting over. That's what I did with the Total Drama video. Like, it went through multiple... I'm not... that's a discussion for another time. All right, well, I'm going to...
another time.
Yeah, I'm going to hang up. And this has been Switch to Ultra.
Switch to Ultra. All right.
I have had to go to the bathroom this whole time. Anyway, listen to this song. Sorry. I mean, new people here that mainly like Kirby. We don't talk about Kirby every week, but there will be a Switch 2 Ultra podcast episode every Monday night. If you like us, stick around. Consider following. This will be a video eventually.